of the substantive session of the United Nations Conference to negotiate a legally binding instrument to prohibit nuclear weapons leading towards their total elimination is called to order. The conference will now consider sub-item B of Agenda Item 7, entitled Report of the Credentials Committee. Delegations have before them the report of the Credentials Committee. It is issued as document A/conf.229/217/7. I now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Lot Zonzi of Malawi. He is the chair of the Credentials Committee. I ask him to introduce the report of the Credentials Committee.
La delegación de Malawi.
Malawi has the floor.
Chairperson, Excellencies, may I begin by congratulating the chairperson for being the first person in the United Nations floor to pronounce my surname correctly. On behalf of the Credentials Committee, I have the honor to introduce the report of the committee concerning the credentials of the representatives of states to the United Nations Conference to negotiate a legally binding instrument and to prohibit nuclear weapons, leading towards their total elimination, as contained in document A/conference.229/2017/7. Having considered the credentials of the representative at its meeting on 6 July 2017, the Credentials Committee adopted without a vote a draft resolution accepting the credentials. The committee also recommended to the plenary of the conference the adoption of the draft resolution concerning credentials of representatives to the conference, contained in paragraph 14 of the report of the committee. I would like to note that since the meeting of the Credentials Committee, formal credentials were received by the Secretary General of the conference regarding Haiti. I would like to further note that since the meeting of the Credentials Committee, information concerning their representatives was received by the Secretary General of the conference regarding the following countries: Eritrea, Grenada, Sierra Leone, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, and Timor-Leste. The conference is therefore requested to adopt the draft resolution approving the report of the Credentials Committee and accept the additional credentials submitted subsequently to the meeting of the Credentials Committee. Finally, I would like to express my gratitude to the members of the committee and to the Secretariat for facilitating our work. Thank you so much.
Doy las gracias al presidente.
I would like to thank the chair of the Credentials Committee. May I take it that the conference wishes to adopt the draft resolution entitled Credentials of Representatives to the United Nations Conference to negotiate a legally binding instrument to prohibit nuclear weapons leading towards their total elimination, recommended by the Credentials Committee in paragraph 14 of its report, and accept the additional credentials mentioned by the chair of the Credentials Committee. I hear no objection. It is so decided.
La conferencia concluye así.
The conference has thus concluded its consideration of sub-item 7B and of agenda item 7 as a whole.
La conferencia ahora reanudará.
The conference will now resume its consideration of agenda item 9 to adopt the final text of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, delegates, we have met this morning bolstered by our determination to adopt a treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. We are thus dealing with the mandate that has been conferred upon us on the 23rd of December 2016 in Resolution 71/258. We are going to leave this room today with the satisfaction of having accomplished and carried out our duty. Bolstered by this desire of the whole world to build a world of peace free from nuclear weapons. We have talked about the suffering of victims and their families after nuclear weapons have been used, and nuclear tests, and the fact that people are striving to get these weapons. We are going to adopt a text that enjoys legitimacy because it has been debated by all of you. It is a text that is based on very broad agreement. Its core is the standard of prohibiting nuclear weapons. Just like all deliberative and democratic processes, we have been able to have discussions amongst us. We've exchanged our opinions and discussed our differing opinions. This proposal basically reflects the agreements that have been reached between these different positions. This text used this standard of prohibiting nuclear weapons as its guiding path. This is something that is historic for humanity. Taking into consideration the need for to have complementary, that there are these different documents governing non-proliferation, and these all need to be complementary. Committed to the mandate conferred by the General Assembly of the United Nations, in this spirit, the text leaves the doors opened to nuclear weapons states and to other states who control them to be parties to this agreement. And so this translates the political resolve of this conference by bringing together the necessary conditions in order to eliminate these nuclear weapons. Pursuant to the resolution that has our mandate in it, since the 16th of February, we have been working non-stop. We have been working extremely intensively, particularly in May, and particularly over these past 3 weeks here in New York to achieve this final text. I would like to thank each and every one of you. All those people who've been working from their capitals. I'd like to thank you for your commitment. I'd like to thank you for the compromises that you've been ready to make so that we have been able to shoulder this responsibility. We are here today to adopt this text and to give life to a new treaty that is complementary to the overall general architecture. This is a text that seeks to bring together the world where there is the dream of each and every person to have a world free from nuclear weapons. We are seeing the dreams of those working unfailingly in civil society fulfilled today. We are working to ensure that the international community can launch an appeal to all nuclear weapons states, urging them to start disarmament. We are just a few moments away from saying to the survivors, to say to those people who've been impacted by nuclear weapons that after so many decades, we have managed to sow the first seeds of a world free from nuclear weapons. We are just a few moments away from saying to our children that, yes, it is possible to inherit a world free from nuclear weapons. A world free from nuclear weapons for future generations. With these words, ladies and gentlemen, the conference is now going to examine document A/conf 229/2017/L3/Rev1, containing the text of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. As agreed upon during the negotiations of the conference. I now submit this to the conference for consideration. May I take it that the conference would like to adopt this treaty by consensus, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, A/Conference 229/2017/L3/Rev1.
La delegación de Países Bajos ha solicitado el uso.
The delegation of the Netherlands has asked for the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak at this moment. I'm afraid there's no consensus in the room, and the Netherlands cannot support the text that is in front of us of the draft treaty that is under consideration, and we want to make a formal objection to its adoption. My delegation requests a formal recorded vote, and I will request the floor later on after the vote for a statement. Thank you very much.
La delegación de Países Bajos.
The Netherlands delegation has requested a recorded vote on the text of the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. I would like to remind delegations that pursuant to 35(1) of the rules of the conference, the decision of the conference saw on all substantive matters should be adopted by 2/3 of those voting. A 2/3 majority of the states present and voting. The conference shall now begin the voting process. Those in favour of the draft treaty contained in document A/conf 229/2017/L3/Rev1, please signify.
The conference is now voting on the adoption of the text of the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons as contained in document A/conf 229/2017 L3 Rev1. I'd like to remind delegations that the green button indicates in favor, the red button indicates against, and the yellow button indicates abstention. Will all delegations kindly confirm that their votes are accurately reflected on the screen? The voting has been completed. The machine is locked.
Permítanme con una gran emoción
It is with a great deal of emotion that I would like to confirm the results of the vote. The result of the vote is as follows: in favour 122, against 1, abstentions 1. The draft treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons is adopted.